And everybody, thank you very much for coming back tonight to the pigsty. Let me know if all the audio's coming through, all the videos and everything's all doing well, because I was swapping between accounts earlier, so it might be ever so slightly, but let me know. Tonight we are having an after party for anyone who wasn't there earlier watching. Links in the description. It was a debate on God. Is God good? We have the one poor lonely Christian on the channel, Craig, who's probably going to get lambasted because we're all evil atheists, but we're going to go with that. The other interlocutor had to go spend time with his family, so of course family comes first. But we do have the moderator as well, and we have the owner of the channel, who is Wes. Russ has just slimed his way in. Headless Chicken hasn't watched a goddamn thing, he just seen the link. James will be able to give us his opinion, because I do believe that James watched all of that. So what we will do is we will work around the room. For the main people, Craig, would you like to shill yourself, your book, your religion? Go on ahead.
Yeah, I'm Greg. Yeah, I'm Greg. So anyway, yeah, no, I'm a Christian, and I guess we just had the debate, and one of the biggest questions that kind of kept coming up all the time was, why would an omniscient God who's perfect in every way create anything that has a will of its own? And what I expressed on the show was that I actually had thought about that question for about 3 years, and have presented that question and the answer, at least that I came up with, to a lot of different folks, and it ended up getting written into a book. It's a fictional book. I try to write it in such a way that you don't feel like you're getting beat up with theology. I know not everyone wants to read a theology book, but I actually do provide an answer in that, and one that at least some of the folks that have looked at it have said it was the first answer they heard, other than Augustine's "we'll have to wait till we get there," to know that actually gave an answer, or at least attempted to give an answer that didn't seem to contradict anything about the nature of God or something that was written about it in the Bible. So anyway,
Do you think that you put your point across good enough?
Do I think I get the point across good enough?
Do you think that you put your point across good enough?
It's a little hard, like previously, but I also think it would take it's a longer answer. It takes probably about 15, 20 minutes or so to go through. And I'm not sure that I do all the steps justice in the conversation that we had previously, because it kept dancing back and forth to other questions as well. So, but I think I think the gist of it got across. I guess I'd be interested in hearing what those that were involved heard me say.
If I can just interrupt, the people who joined the other link, we wanted to have more people in, so I had to create a flipping new account. So for Mouty and the others that got the link from the cult, if anyone wants to know about the cult, it is the dinner table cult. The whole point of the cult is to get the fuck out of the cult. It's not a cult, it's a way of life. So join the cult. That's how you get the people who got the link through there. It's a different link. I've now just posted a new one, and you should have availability to it. So Mouty, yeah, I just said that, Athena. I just said, yeah. So anyone who has it in the cult will be able to come and join. There we go. We got Midnight. Hello, Midnight. Now, if I can, just before you go introduce you, Midnight and stuff, if I can post to or jump to the moderator, Elliot. What did you think of the debate? What was your opinion of the debate?
So, I mean, for anybody that hasn't seen me or heard me give my thoughts on this whole God thing, I am definitely an atheist. Even more so, I often take a much stronger position on atheism, more in the positive gods don't exist. But so I do fall with James ultimately. But I thought it was it was very cordial, and I really enjoy that type of conversation style more than a super structured 5 minute rebuttal cross-examinate. I feel like that kind of structure takes a lot of people out of it.
Yeah.
And it's hard for the people viewing to really follow along with the full conversation sometimes.
Well, that's yeah. I agree with you. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Yeah, no. It was just a really good format, and I thought both Greg and James laid out their points really well. Again, I mean, I kind of assumed from the beginning I would ultimately side with James, but I thought Greg had a lot of good points where he did have a rebuttal, he did have a response. I would have liked to see James push in a couple of different directions, but again, that's just kind of my bias. Like, I've had this conversation before with different people, and where I like to go with the conversation of is God good is a little different than other people. But again, I thought it was really, really good, and I'm just excited to see more debates like that. So
Yeah, no, I thought it was very, very good. It was a nice part. One thing I can comment, and if I can, I feel a little bit more free because James isn't here. But I thought a lot of the arguments that James put across would be in what I would refer to as like meme questions.
there were stronger points I thought that could be made.
Yeah,
for sure.
asking questions that, from my point of view, if you're going to take it from the other person's point of view, like, in my opinion, asking Craig a point on slavery and listening to Craig's rebuttal and back on it, you already know that as a given if you do an internal critique from a Christian's point of view. Considering who we are as atheists in this community, who are a lot of ex-Christians and a lot of up their own asshole atheists who have, I've read the Bible more than you, so I fucking know more. So you should see their point of view then. You understand the language that you're using to attack them isn't relevant from an internal critique, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, but I thought, like I said, I thought it was really fun. I was super excited to be a part of it. And yeah, I want to see more. I want to see more conversations like that, because I think it brings down the temperature of the kind of everyday casual yelling that we were seeing a lot of. So I'm not as much of a fan of that, although it can be entertaining. But
the octagon.
Yeah, I think we actually make more progress when we have cordial conversations, But
And let me say, like Elliot, and like you said, you would have taken it in different directions. Even if those didn't come out, I'd be like, okay, then I want to be able to PM you and be able to hear what directions you take it in, because for me, that's iron sharpening iron. I know that's a Christian thing, but I think that God can actually use you to help me understand him better. Sure. And your challenges would actually take me down a path where I'd have to say, okay, God, I don't get it again.
I don't want to disrupt MathPig's flow, but I mean, I'll ask one of the questions if you're okay. So I mean, one of the things that always comes to my mind about is God good is the question of, is the conception of God that you have one where God is perfect, whatever that definition of perfect means to you, but is God perfect in your view?
Yes.
Did God creating anything add to that perfection?
No.
So it only made it worse, or no change at all, correct?
Made it no, yeah.
So
I would say made no. Well, and I would say that's actually to the point where I would say that his internal want actually created a need, because normally a Christian will tell you that God is perfect. There's nothing that could ever be lessened about God. And I think what actually God did was he discovered within his perfection that there was something that he could want more. He could want more of himself.
The God needing definitely is a little bit of a different take than I hear most people describe.
Because most Christians don't ever want to. Most Christians won't admit that God ever got to a point where he had a need.
That does seem to make him a little bit less than in that instance. Having that, because a need is a desire. It's
very human,
but it is very human. But a need is something that is
it's a deficit.
It's stronger. Exactly. Thank you. That's a better way to say it. Yes. You have to have this, otherwise you aren't whole. You aren't complete. And that would seem to counter the claim of perfection.
Right. And that's why I say that there's a difference between a need and a want. That there's a lot of places where God in the Bible says that he wants things, but there's never a place where he says he needs something. And I think what ends up happening is, if the need is actually something that comes from within himself, then there's nothing still that's higher than himself. What he just discovered was that unless he created a being that was there to worship him, then he couldn't. That place would never exist for him to experientially be able to experience himself. It was basically that his internal want became a need because he recognized that if he didn't fulfill that want, it would take him to a place of discontentment. And so, if that makes sense.
So it doesn't, if what we're saying is that before God created anything else, that everything was that God was there, God existed, and everything that was existence was just perfect. God, and it was perfect. It doesn't.
And I think the answer is wrapped up in the Trinity. Just to let you know, that within the Trinity, he can't know himself anything different, any better than he already does, because he's one in essence. But because he exists in three personages, it means those three personages, though they have the same essence, so they can't know each other any better, they do have individuality. And so if there's a place where those individuals, those beings as their individualness, I guess I don't know how to word it, were to be able to experience themselves in a different way that didn't exist unless he created that, then it would be that there could be something they could want but not need.
Do you think there is do you think when we say the phrase generally, like we say something is bound by whatever,
yes,
would you say that is a limitation on that thing that is being bound? Like when we say I'm bound by biology to eat food, or
it's a limitation.
Would you say that God was bound by that need, that he had no other choice but to create, even in his perfect state?
I think what he's bound by is his essence, and his essence is perfection. He can't do anything that would cause him to contradict his perfection. And if he realized that there was a way for him to experientially know himself, and that would leave him in a state of imperfection, he would not be able to not do what it took to keep himself in perfection. So the only limiting factor is himself. There's nothing outside of himself. And that's why I think that you're left in a place where God is still God. Even though he is limited, he's limited by his own essence.
If I can,
I was derailing.
No, you're not derailing. I just want you to ask
think it's
a
great
question. It's a great question. No, it was. I want to, I just want to give everyone else an opportunity. I know there was at least two other, well, including producer Wes who was watching, but I want to get a wee bit of feedback from the audience. I want to tap James and then Marty and see what they think as well of the actual debate, and if they have any questions that they'd like to put forth. So if you can just round up what you're saying or your point.
I think that's a great place to pause. Yeah, honestly, I still have some questions, some things that don't seem to really fit. But again, I think one of the things is you do a pretty good job of laying out your point. I think you're very clear with most of it when it comes to where you see it. That doesn't mean that I always think it's 100% clear, but that's why I think it's great that you have these types of discussions. So yeah, man, we'll find each other on one of the social things, and we'll definitely
it'll probably diverge if we go for as long as I usually do. We'll get back to it, don't worry. If I can, I want to give a shout out to everyone in the chat. We've got Spartan Theology in the chat as well, who would be another Christian who I would think would be very articulate and put their point across and all as well. So if we get an opportunity, they are free for a wee while, which is quite rare. They are a new father with twins, so anyone who's a parent knows what the fuck it's like to have babies, and then two at a time, you need to sort that shit. So if we get a chance, I'd like to get Spartan. And Simos, I think you're backstage, Simos, but I can't see you on my screen, but you're there.
I mean, he's here.
I know.
I'm good.
You're there.
He's here right now.
So shout out to everyone in the chat, Fabio, Cat, Savage, and all the rest of us. Everybody, thank you very, very much for coming. Link for the debate is in the chat. So James, make the debate sound really intriguing and wonderful for everyone to go and watch. What did you think of the discussion, James?
Are you asking me?
James Apperson, yes.
Okay, so one of my first thoughts is, and I often tell people this, no matter how wrong I might be about my worldview, man, you got to appreciate how much time I've spent becoming that damn wrong. And so at least I didn't come to my wrong views casually or thoughtlessly or lazily, right? So if there's any point to be made there, I'm like, that's at least one thing I can brag about. So when I hear someone like Greg talking about his views, whom I perceive as being wrong, one of my first thoughts is I really appreciate the amount of time he spent on getting there regardless, because he's not being lazy about it. He's not being casual about it. He's not being, he's showing a good work ethic. He's showing that it actually matters to him. He spent an awful lot of time developing his worldview. So we're asking him all these really hard-hitting questions, and his response is thoughtful and articulate and comprehensive, and he doesn't just say, I don't know, right? And I really appreciated that about him, even though I didn't necessarily find the answers satisfying because they don't scratch the itches that are specific to my psychology. I found it impressive that he had answers and that it all was mutually supportive to his larger structure of his worldview. So that's where I'm at about it.
Wonderful. I would agree with that, if not all of that. Yeah, I thought Greg put a very articulate point across, and you're supposed to take your own side and all that there. But I really do think you put a good point across, Greg. Definitely. So, Marty, you watched an awful lot of it and trying to stir the pot from the atheist point of view in the chat. And anyone who hasn't joined the cult, don't forget you can join Dinner Table Cult. Yeah.
Well, I'm part of the cult.
Forgot what camera I was on.
Marty, what did you think of it?
I share the sentiment of the previous two panelists. Greg, I thought that your approach of understanding is superior to all other approaches, whether it be from a Christian to an atheist or humans, any human to another human. The understanding approach is always the winning approach. And of course, I disagreed with you. I was trying to stir some things up in the side chat, only to realize that I was just surrounded. I was preaching to the choir, if you will. So, trying to take some of the things
and I can't look over there and
I know. I was trying to take the things that you said and made them sound bombastic, and it just kind of fell on deaf ears because everyone's like, "Yeah, we agree." But no, I do appreciate the style. I think that I think there's something to be said for that, right? I think there's something to be said for purposely not going into the octagon and having more, I call it the dinner table discussion, right? You may disagree, but at the dinner table, you're all getting nourished, you're all eating, and you're all still family afterwards, right? So
I love that philosophy.
Well, thank you. So as far as the points, I'm not gonna bust your chops anymore. That of the people here that have questions, I'm sure that theirs are way more interesting. The one sticking point that I will say though is your position came from a presupposition of God's existence and then assertions of that being a raw fact moving forward, and for me, it's a more interesting discussion. Let me rephrase that. I enjoy listening to discussions more about belief than attempts to show objective existence of things. And that's just because I come at it from a psychological angle. So, I'd love to hear you answer questions about that a little bit more. But I know that there are other people that have opinions and questions.
Oh no! Well, if you have a question relative to the debate, Marty, as we did with Elliot, I would very much appreciate you to Greg, this guy over here, Mr. Rogers. We're going to call you Mr. Rogers. Yeah, we're calling you Mr. Rogers. So, Mr. Rogers, let's pick it, Mr. Rogers. Give us a question. Go with it.
Well, because you do. It's. I can just infer you do presuppose the existence of God, and your belief flows downstream from your understanding, your belief, right? Your understanding that there is a God that exists. You have a God concept, and that is something you can sink your teeth into.
Right.
And there are people who don't have that. There are people in the world that have lived and died on the globe that haven't even heard of this God concept that you're proposing exists. And so for me, it has to do with belief. I would start asking questions if we were to have a long form discussion. But since I only have an opportunity for short form,
30 seconds.
First thing that I would ask is, what led you to these beliefs? Were you born into the belief? Was there a time when you weren't a Christian? Are there arguments that you're currently using, arguments that you heard that helped move your position in a different direction? Those are the kinds of questions, and you can kind of pick and choose anyone, because I know I asked multiple things.
Yeah. I mean, I would be straightforward honest, and I would say, I recognize that I was born into a Christian family and started with that belief. And so when someone says, hey, wait a minute, so sociologically, you actually were predisposed towards that belief. If you had been born over in an Islamic country, you'd probably be Islamic right now because you're a faith-based person who probably would have fallen the way or gone the way of whatever the faith-based belief system was that was there. So I try to, I guess the way I try to approach this thing is you got to be intellectually honest, and you got to say, okay, let's call a spade a spade. I started off there probably because my parents told me that. But I will say that my faith has grown and become something else that is my own at this point. And that's probably where we would go in the discussion is, okay, so tell me now, how do you get to the point now where you have the belief that you have now? That you say because of experience or experiences or reasoning or evidence or what have you. What has changed now that makes you say it's yours, not
that reinforces it, right? Like,
yeah,
what are the reinforcing factors that motivate you to maintain such a belief?
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm not asking that right now. I think that it would take a while to unpack.
I think that would take a long time to unpack, and I would love to unpack that because, again, I told Wes before we started this whole conversation, ultimately, I think these kinds of questions are really good if you start from a place where you say that there is a God or there's not a God. But the real question is there a God or is there not a God? Let's just call a spade a spade. Ultimately, it really does come down, are you real God or are you not? Because, and if so, God, then it's up to you to make it so that I can understand you, that you do exist. It's not on me because I'm a finite entity that wasn't created. You didn't, I didn't choose to be here. You chose to put me here. So make yourself known to me. And so I actually do think the atheist has a point. This is on God. God has got to convince me. And I'm okay with that. I think he should. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that is a very honest way to approach it. And I really wish more believers of a lot of different stripes would have that view of it too, because I think that's when you're actually dealing with the problems. Mm-hmm. When you're saying like, okay, yeah, let me tackle this issue and really try to work it out. Yeah. So that's that. I like that.
I'll tell you, is it Mahdi? Is that how you?
It's pronounced Mowdy.
Mowdy. I'm so sorry.
My name's Chris.
Chris. The way I started going down this pathway is I had gone out on a Facebook at one point, and I ran into a guy that had been in my Sunday school class. I was looking for some stuff on a high school reunion, never been on Facebook before, and he was writing some stuff about creation, and I go, oh, wait a minute. I don't think that's right. You were in my Sunday school class. Let's talk about this. And so I started typing some things. Hey, I don't think that's right. Yada, yada, yada. He started tagging me. I didn't know what tagging was. I'm like, what the heck is this? All of a sudden there literally were about 100 people that came onto the line that kind of followed this guy. And he was an atheist. I didn't know he'd become an atheist. And he challenged me on some things. And this was in 2012. I'd been studying this stuff like creation since 93. I'm like, I got all the answers. We're good. Let's talk. 4 months into it, I'm like, it doesn't matter what I say here. Intelligent decide, creation, science, all that kind of stuff. They've got a rebuttal. They know there's no way any of these people are going to change their mind based on what I'm saying. And so I started praying about it. I was like, God, how do you reach someone like this? And felt like he said, why don't you try listening to them first instead of trying to answer them? And then why don't you walk backwards with them from where they are and see where we end up together? Yeah. 2 months later, I started with 13.7 billion years. Okay, let's just say you're right. Let's say the Earth was created, the universe was created then, 4.6 billion with the Earth, and let's just say you're right, and let's walk backwards from there. 2 months into it, everyone turned on the leader and said, leave Greg alone. He's reasonable, he's logical, and you can't argue the data because he's using our data. And they said, so tell me what the rest of this thing's about, because I know it's not just about creation. There's more to it than this. I will tell you at that point, I had no clue how to say anything else. And this has been a journey for me where I enjoy speaking to atheists and Muslims and others that don't believe what I believe, and them say, Greg, you're wrong. Let me tell you why. And I go, okay, God, you said that you're real. help me understand how you answer this. I don't have all the answers, but I know he does.
If I can say, Greg, we've only just met tonight. We only just met a few hours ago. I do open panels on a Saturday and chats and talks as regular as I can. You're always welcome. You seem very genuine about it. And I would be of the same mindset. I've spent the last 2 weeks on crazy Christian channels, like all over the place. I was on a Christian channel the other day, and some Christian come on in his boxers with a 9mm and started threatening people because they disagreed with their religion. Yeah. See, Elliot's face says it all. I was like, what the fuck?
Right.
He also mooned everybody, like, in his underwear. Was like, look at my ass.
MathPig. It does not say anywhere in the Bible that you can't go on the internet wearing your boxers wielding a 9mm. Show me where it says in the scripture you cannot do that as a good Christian.
I'm just saying, all right? I agree with Craig's point of view that it's better to surround yourself with people that I disagree with.
Greg.
Fuck me. I know I made the mistake once and I'm sort of just sticking with it.
I love it. I'm going to call myself Greg from now on.
So, Mr. Rogers, I agree with Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
It's better to surround yourself with people who disagree with you, because how are you going to know that you're, I don't want to use the word right, but if everyone around you agrees with you, you'll never know your limits. You have to push your limits. You have to be questioned. You have to be answered. And if you can do that in an articulate, informative way without pulling a 9mm gun, then I think you're a decent guy.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I keep forgetting about Simons because I can't see him.
Yeah, I was going to say a little point, if I may, because I am what has been described as an awful atheist. So just to say, I enjoyed the debate. So thank you very much to both the participants. And as much as I listened to what I did, I felt there could have been further probing, of course. And maybe one's worldview, regardless of who has it, is never going to be completely coherent. So I think Mr. Rogers has done a great service for his side by at least trying to question that and saying, I don't know. That's what I long to hear from most of my debate opponents when I ask them a question which they genuinely don't know, rather than giving me some kind of philosophical argument or trying to poison the well or just saying I'm a filthy atheist, etc. I wish they'd just say, I don't know that. And, maybe I'll have the answer in the future. I don't know. And that's what I really appreciated about what Mr. Rogers said. So I just want to give kudos where kudos is there. And, who knows where the conversation can go once you're struggling to find answers together, two different sides struggling to find an answer. Well, if you come to some consensus, it's got a higher chance of being right. So there's always that. As for the presuppositions which you hold, I think that's going to be the major sticking point. And I would want to know more about where you derive your ethics from and what you find to be ethical. And whether that is extended to those that don't have your specific God belief, that would be my kind of approach to it. So, anyway, that's besides the point right now.
No, they're very poignant points. Simos of Craig, Mr. Rogers, would like to. I can't help it. We're just going to go with Mr. Rogers.
It's interesting because you talk about ethics again. To me, ethics is a little bit of like the good bad thing. It's kind of relative. And I look at it and say, where do my ethics get drawn from? It's drawn from what I believe God has revealed about himself and says, this is what's good, this is what's right, this is what's righteous. And so I openly say, this is how I base my ethic. But I also, like, if you ask me, does that translate into me interacting with others? And this is where some Christians would say, Greg, what in the world are you saying? You can't do this. Let's say it's the issue of homosexuality, which a lot of Christians would probably run from and say, hey, wait a minute, don't bring that up, because now it's going to go down a rabbit hole and all this, open up more cans of worms or whatever. I look at it and say, okay, we got to be able to deal with that. And I look at it and say, okay, no matter what I may believe on it, I live in a nation that is not Christian. It was set up as a representative democracy. And as such, I need to be able to look at it and say, hey, wait a minute, I would hope that the homosexual person here would fight just as much for my rights as I should be fighting for theirs, because there's going to come a time when the tables turn and I'm looking and saying, hey, wait a minute, I'm in the minority, and I'm wanting, is someone going to stick up for my ability to have freedoms within this? And so, like, when it comes to issues like, should you allow insurance for partners and homosexual things and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, well, I may not agree with the choice of what they're doing, and I may think that God may not like that, but these people don't worship my God. And why would I hold them and to a standard that they don't see as the standard? And now they are just people that are represented by my government, and they should be represented in a way that gives them equal rights, regardless of how I may think about it morally or what have you, all that kind of stuff. And I better love them as well.
That's cool. That's definitely cool, and a very fair answer to the question.
Yeah.
So you would affirm Jefferson's wall of separation between church and state, would you?
I would affirm it probably both directions, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it's that religion really shouldn't get involved on the government side per se, although I think everyone's belief system is going to, and some people's belief system is driven by the religion, so there's no way to separate those completely. But I also think that the religion should be protected from the government. So I think it's both ways, and I think there's a way for us to think about that if we're reasonable people, and be able to recognize, hey, wait a minute, I've got to live in a world where not everyone's going to think the same way I think.
Yeah. Would you extend that? So, I mean, what I'm hearing, and please correct me if you think I'm misrepresenting you at all. What I'm hearing is actually you're not saying it's about religion so much as just lifestyles and life choices or worldviews in general.
Yeah, because ultimately, how could I expect someone to live a way that I can't even live, at least according to my belief, unless I'm transformed by God having accepted something and done something? I mean, God had to change me to make me think this way. Why would I expect anyone else to think that way if they hadn't gone through that change?
Right.
I wouldn't even think this way unless God did something to change me. So
do you, yeah, that's not quite the straight answer that I was looking for.
Okay,
let me say that.
Let me see if I can answer it differently then. Ask the question again, and let me see if I can get.
Well, I guess I'm saying, when I say worldviews, what I'm really implying by that is living according to their nature, right? And I expect you as a Christian to live according to your nature, right, as a human being, through the eyes of Christianity.
Yes.
Right now, and that's problematic straight away because of the number of different versions of Christianity you could possibly come across, right? And the number of differences that they have. Okay, so it's difficult to say Christian. However, given that we have a nature in ourselves, and you conform that to your Christian belief, other people, of course, have different natures which they conform to their worldviews.
Yes.
All right. And so that's what I'm getting at, really, is that how do you reconcile those two things when they're different?
Okay, so let me see. I'm trying to see if are you asking me why I may not live completely the way that I say it is conformed completely to my belief?
That's just a component. So again, let's go to the homosexuality point, right? This is, I believe that homosexuality is not a choice. It's in somebody's nature.
Yes.
Okay, and therefore, you can't say to them, well, you have to conform away from your nature, right? Because that's asking someone to do something which is just not possible.
Yes.
And is also, I feel, immoral in some sense.
Yeah.
And so how do you reconcile that aspect of your nature wanting to assert Christianity, their nature wanting to assert their way of life?
I think I would venture from what we were originally designed for, and was our original nature versus our fallen nature. I think homosexuality and different things like that actually come out of the fact that we are no longer actually in the image in which we were created originally. So I'm in a fallen state. As I'm in a fallen state, can that person change how they feel? Can they change that they are drawn to a person of the same sex? I would say no. They're wired that way now, but they are in a position where they can choose whether or not they are going to follow after that as being their first love or God as their first love. If they do know that God is if they really believe and say God is my first love, they may choose to do something which goes contrary to what their nature is predisposing them towards. Just
right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so is there any conflict? Matter of love. Yeah. So is there any conflict between what you feel is your nature and your Christian beliefs?
Is there anything that's contrary to my nature? I would say yes, in that, and this is a vulnerability. And if I happen to be drawn physically to, beautiful women and all that kind of stuff, I could choose to go and be a philanderer or philanderer, whatever. Yeah, a philanderer.
I see.
I could go out and cheat on my wife, but I choose not to, because one, I love her more than I love the desire for that, and I also love God more than I love my desire for those things.
Okay, so that's an answer. I won't push you any further. I'll say a couple of points, and then if you want to respond, that's fine, and I won't say anything after that. Which is, firstly, you said it's designed, and of course that's in some sense begging the question, because I was talking about human nature, which I don't believe is designed. But those are just it's a different worldview. So I don't think you can give that to me as an answer and expect me to say, oh, well, that's reasonable. No, I don't think that's reasonable. And then the second point I just want to say, which is, the philanderer example. If you feel, that's a huge admission, don't tell your wife that. Okay.
No,
because...
she would be okay with it from the standpoint of
really?
She understands that all
that's
of us. That's
what you want to do.
That all of us have weaknesses. No, I'm not. I didn't say I wanted to go and do it. I actually don't want to go do that.
Can I rephrase?
Then if you don't want to do it, it's not your nature. Okay.
No, my nature is to love something else more than I love the fulfillment of physical desire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just pointing out the two things which I thought were a little.
Well, I was gonna jump in and sort of rephrase it as Mr. Rogers just did. I wanted to ask Mr. Rogers a more defining question rather than let it go that direction with that idea. And it's, we all, it's very hard to be monogamous. It's not evolutionary to be monogamous. It's difficult for that. It's a decision, and people make a marriage and all the rest of it. From a human point of view, whatever you find attractive is attractive.
That's right.
It makes you excitable, and you can, look at a lady, look at a man, whatever you're into. And the idea that I think that Mr. Rogers is trying to put across is, I look at a lady and I'd be like, damn, that bitch be hot, but I love my wife more. So it's the acknowledgement of that, but yet knowing not to do it. The difference that you would take, Mr. Rogers, I think, is going and saying that you're not doing it because it's an influence from God because of his opinion, where I would say I'm not doing it because I respect my partner. And it, I get the attachment, and I get the love, and I get that this love is more important than, that nice ass. Although that's a nice ass, but that nice ass, I can see where you're coming from.
It's a choice at different levels. It's a choice at different levels.
I just want to say, MathPig, I told you to stop objectifying me like that on stream, man.
Yeah, you're the one that got up and
I sent you those pictures privately.
All right, you're the one that bent over. It's a different thing altogether.
The key is, though, that we all have human urges that are built based on biology, and you can't just say, hey, look, I'm going to deny what is actually physically there. It just is what it is.
Spartan has just pointed out.
I'm sorry, to deny love is something different to just saying I deny the human urge to I don't know.
Yeah, it's a choice at a different level.
A hedonistic kind of existence, which I think you're pointing to by saying,
Yeah.
philandra, and I'm not pointing to by saying homosexual.
And I guess I would say, and this is something I've learned because I have homosexual friends, is that is a genuine love. I think many Christians make the mistake of thinking, hey, wait, this is all about sex. No, it's not. There are people who genuinely care and love that other person. And so in some ways, I would say that those relationships, when it comes to an aspect of what a relationship should be about, which is about that trust and that commitment, that sometimes people that are in homosexual relationships actually show a better picture of the ideal on that proportion of it than some Christians do.
Yeah, I mean, it just when I talk to you about these,
and there are Christians that are homosexual. Let me say,
I just get the feeling that you're a humanist that happens to have a faith, and rather than you're a Christian that has these rigid ethics taken from the Bible. And those two things, I've in my personal life, I've found to be somewhat contradictory. And if you found some way to live with that dissonance, as I would call it, and I'm being pejorative here for a reason, of course, because I'm talking about from my worldview, then okay, that's wonderful. But some of the things that I've pointed out, right, just means that I think that some of the language which you're using is in some sense covering or apologizing for some of the language which is used in the book, which you're claiming is this moral high standards.
I guess what I would say is that I don't think it's covering for the language that's in the book. I think it's covering for what some people have interpreted the language to mean that's in the book, and I've tried to go back and look and say, because I have a lot of problems with what some Christians say. This is what the Bible says.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's fair. I think it's a really tricky one because, of course, I've never read the Bible. I'll be honest here. I'm not I was never a Christian, so I really don't know where it comes from. I only go on what people tell me.
So maybe I'm not a humanist that's posing as a Christian. You're actually someone who could be a Christian, just would know it, would actually become it if you actually read it.
Well,
you never know.
I wouldn't have thought so because I've grown up in societies which are Christian. However, I am a humanist, so that's where I relate to what you're saying. But anyway, I mean, there's always that possibility, right? It's a logical possibility. Let me say it that way. Okay, I'll finish there, Greg.
Thanks, Simon.
How do you pronounce your first name, by the way?
Craig. Oh, I mean Greg.
Oh, it is Greg.
It's Greg.
Craig or Greg? Okay,
it's Greg.
I thought it was Greg.
I was forgot for a second there.
I was going to call you G-Reg, but
neuroplasticity kicked in, and I was like, "Oh wait, I don't know anymore. I don't know. I can't remember."
Jump in and say thank you to Elliot Secular Rarity for jumping in, for moderating, and all the rest of this. Some stuff that they had to bounce out, but thank you very much for coming in.
Hey, MathPig, I'm still here.
I have to thank the moderator. They just left,
Hey guys,
I know.
All right,
if there's any pressing questions, I don't want to leave with someone sitting there going, "I got a question I want to ask Greg."
Well, I would like to give the floor to fucking Midnight Sparkle before they have a heart attack. So Midnight, if you had anything you'd like to ask,
because I'm at a point where I almost need to leave, but I
understand.
I didn't want to bust out if someone had something.
Well, I mean, I guess everything's already been said, right? He's I got nothing.
So you whinge and cry about the floor and you don't have anything. Right, moving on. Leo.
Is there someone else? Okay.
We've got one more person.
Hey, I stutter, asshole, okay? It's better I say nothing than talk.
If I hadn't this many people on the panel, I'd kick you for the crack. Leo, have you anything to say?
I have like several questions for Greg, but naturally we're not going to be able to get to
Can you do
just
two?
ask them, and if worst case scenario, I can write up an answer maybe and send it to Wes, and he can get it over to you or something like that.
Well, so I guess the first question that I'll start with, I think it's the most pressing one, is obviously you would answer yes to the question, is God good?
Yes.
All right. What does it mean to say that God is good?
That he is righteous in everything righteous, and not unrighteous in anything that would be unrighteous.
What are you
What
taking
is-
righteousness to mean?
I would say it's a word that honestly would be relative.
Wait.
Yeah, it's a relative.
Would you consider yourself to be a moral relativist? Or a
I'm not
moral
philosopher.
objectivist? Do you think that morality is moral truths are objective or subjective?
I think they're subjective.
Okay.
But I also believe that in practicality, because God's nature is the standard and he doesn't change, and I'm held, and whether or not I'm compatible with him or incompatible with him is on the basis of things that I do, etc., that it is objective in that I am held to being compatible with God's nature. Ultimately, I have to be compatible with him, or I experience what it means to be absent from him.
So
does that make sense?
Is some action good in virtue of conforming to God's nature, or does it conform to God's nature because it is good?
Something conforms to God's nature because it's good.
So then it's because the action is good.
Yes and no. I'm trying to think of how to answer this.
Because if an action conforms to God's nature because the action is good, then that seems to be saying that goodness is not rooted in God's nature.
The problem is that none of us do anything that's really actually good when it is upheld against the standard of what God's goodness is. So like me loving my wife is probably the best possible thing I can do, and love her as deeply and as
Is that not good to you?
It is good to me as you and I measure goodness, because we have no idea what perfect love looks like. I'm loving her the best I know how, so that's good.
I do.
But I would say, okay, what is it? How much you love?
I know what perfect love is. Whenever you have your child or your daughter look back at you and you apologize for making a mistake, and your 5-year-old daughter looks back at you and says, "Daddy, I think you're perfect. You're doing great." That's perfect.
Her love towards you, probably, right?
Is perfect. Oh yeah, I'm fucking mess.
I would say that is. I would not disagree with you, but I would also tell you that in so much as God's love is, it's even more perfect than that. We just don't know how to describe it. I know it's hard, and I'll give you that the love you just described to me is probably as unconditional as it in purest form that it could possibly be.
I give it 10 years.
And what I'm saying is that at least the way God described it, he said, "Hey, take that and multiply it by infinity," and that's what my love is like.
Right. Two things. Infinity is more of a description rather than an actual number. And second of all, Ethan has joined. If people can see Ethan, nobody can. Ethan is the other Christian that has disagreed with you, I think, on one point. I know you're trying to leave, Mr. Rogers, but can I give Ethan,
I'll listen to
from one Christian to another Christian, I want to give Ethan at least one question.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, I don't really... How you doing, too? I don't want to just jump in, but I know you're trying to leave. And I don't really... Cool. Yeah, I don't really remember exactly what I disagreed on so much. Oh, just your take on, like, when you were talking about homosexuality and whatnot. I just take a different approach, and just... I don't think...
I could be wrong.
Yeah. And I don't think you took, like, a super strong opinion or whatever. I think you're very... I like your approach, and I think you're modest enough. I just... don't really like I see where the people were kind of trying to press you on, and I think they have a good point about just like I just don't think it's necessarily wrong like the way you're saying it. I don't think there's a conception in the Bible, I don't think, like of like same-sex monogamous relationships like we have today. You know what I mean? Like when Paul or whatever talks about homosexuality in the Bible, I think of it more of, you know, some sort of like older man with a much younger boy and like a very power dynamic sort of thing, not really like a loving relationship, if that makes sense.
No, I do. And I know that that's something that's in the language. And I'll be honest with you, I go back and I look deeply into that language and say, okay, what is it? And it has me in a place where I would be like, okay, wait a minute. You know, if I am going to be really strict to what the words mean in other places, I need to be strict on that place as well. And so I will tell you right now, that is an area that I'm looking into, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong on where my position is right now. So anyway.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And yeah, I don't really hold to like the sola scriptura or anything like that either, or whatever. I'm not really like I don't hold to inerrancy or things like that. But that's
which
kind
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. So it's definitely a different kind of approach. But yes, I don't know. And like I said, I don't really have. I'm sure if we had a discussion or I really liked hearing what you had to say so far. I didn't catch the debate, but I definitely want to go back and watch it because it sounds like you have a different approach, but it's really interesting in the way everybody's talking about it. So yeah, so I don't really have too much to say, but yeah. Hopefully we can link up at some point, another conversation or something.
I'll find a topic that the fucking two of you disagree on, and we'll sort out a fight. We'll get a dumpster fire going.
There you go.
Sticks and stuff.
Yeah. You know me. I'm gonna bring it, dude. Yeah.
Well, I know Mr. Rogers has to leave.
I'll just tell you my position, and I think Christians need to take more of a position this way, is that we are so dogmatic about so many things. And the fact of the matter is there's a lot more things that we believe that we think we know. And if we'll be willing to listen, I think there's a lot of places where it would be a much better position for us to take to say, here's a way the Bible could mean it. Here's another way the Bible could mean it. Here's another way the Bible can mean it. And I don't know which one it is, but hey, guess what? Each of them ends up at the feet of the cross. And just say, I don't know a whole lot of stuff, but I do know that at least I believe that there is a God who loves us all enough that he's working for us and not against us. He's actually trying to save people, not try to keep them out.
Considering I do a show every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, with Richard Madsen, who believes that God is a set of ideals created by a council of Jesuses from previous Earths, and that this is the 24th time that the aliens have done this. Yes. You can read a lot of shit into the Bible, and as long as you're a decent person and can come across and as a decent person.
I know Richard.
Yeah, Richard's my internet brother. Like, I've known Richard 4 years, man. I'm the Richard Whisperer. But yeah, Richard's brilliant. Well, it'd be great to have all you all together and have a chat. But I'll give you the floor, Mr. Rogers, because I know you're leaving, so I will give you the floor.
No,
shill your book, shill yourself, shill your religion.
Yeah. Again, all I would say is if you want to know more about me or whatever, Gregory A. Rogers Creative.com is my website.
Lift your mic up, man. It's below your chin. Oh, there you go.
Sorry. Yeah, so Gregory A. Rogers Creative.com is my website. I'm an artist. I'm an author. I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff. But anyway, and you can see about my book. And again, I keep bringing up the book, not because I'm trying to sell copies, but just, although I would like to sell copies, just being honest. But because it does delve into this issue of why would an omniscient God who's perfect in every way create something that has a will of its own? And that seems to be a lot of the questions that we were dealing with tonight. So anyway, it would give you at least more of my thoughts on that. And then we can talk about it again later. So
what's the title of your book?
Created, The Devil's Apprentice. Oh, hold it up. It's like this it's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. You can go out there and get it.
That means I could probably get a free version.
Nice cover. Nice cover.
Created,
Thank you.
Devil's Apprentice.
Yeah.
I'll read it. If it's any good, I'll give you the money.
I'll tell you. It's won awards or whatever, but that's humans. I don't know.
So
read it. If you don't like it, I'll pay you back.
So Greg, before you leave,
seriously, you write me, I'll pay you back.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
James,
no, we can't. He's just shilling his book. It's very important. Go on ahead, James.
Yeah. I'll check out the book too. I promise.
Thank you.
Before you leave, if you get a chance to copy and save the private chat to a notepad or something.
Yes.
maybe you could review those questions later. I didn't get a chance to ask him today, but any of those questions you might want to engage with, feel free to forward that through Wes,
Okay.
and I'm sure he'd make sure that I got the response.
I'm doing it right now. Copy.
Sure. Do you Discord, Mr. Rogers?
Do I Discord? I have a Discord. I'll be lying if I said I'm really good at using it.
It's very annoying if you don't know what you're doing. If you want to, man, email me, HogfatherMP. It's in the description of all my videos. Check my email. Send me an email. We'll hook up, because you were asking about streaming and stuff like that there. Any
Yes.
tech help you need. Savage wants to know, is there an audio book available of your book?
It's not yet. They're wanting me to make one. I say they. I've got folks from Lionsgate, Paramount, Marvel, Disney, all talking about.
Savage, you
wanting to
do
do it.
realize that you've an Android, and Android has a built-in audiobook function. But anyway, I'll show you that later. Yeah, do an audiobook.
Really?
man.
Interesting.
Yes. Yeah. There will be one.
Wait, hold on. You said you have a lot of people from like Marvel and all that stuff trying to come at you
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
your
about
book.
About this book. Yes. Yeah.
All right,
Well,
so
go for it.
I'm gonna buy it.
Okay. Cool. All right, y'all. I gotta go. I hate to
Thank
say
you.
it. My wife is saying go to the grocery store. She's
Always
have
do
an
what
issue.
your wife tells you.
Absolutely. All right, y'all take care. Blessings. Bye.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Okay, that book does sound interesting. It seems to be like part novel, part I don't know. It sounds interesting.
Yeah. I have to say, from the very little interaction that I had with Mr. Rogers when he first joined the hangout with Wes backstage and stuff, I genuinely thought that he was the atheist in the debate. Not because we were asking poignant questions or anything like that, but we were just chatting on topics, and he came across as very logically minded and being able to look at it. And I thought he was the atheist up until the atheist joined and fucking Wes introduced James as fighting the other side. You know, I thought he
Okay,
was
I
very
am
good.
definitely buying this.
So kudos to Mr. Rogers. Thank you very much for everyone who's joined. Does anyone else would like some any points or anything they would like to make? James, Simos, I didn't know you. Did you watch most of it, Simos? Did you catch it all?
Not most of it. I tuned back and forth because because I've been around these conversations for a long time, and
Yeah.
once I know the answer, then
Yeah.
I get a little bit bored. But I did keep coming back to it because I was curious as to whether he could keep coming up with these answers, which he did.
Yeah, he
So
did.
hey, there you go.
Props for that.
But yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I was on Clubhouse the other day, not Clubhouse, something else. I was on something the other day, and having a chat with some Christians, and it just kept tending towards the dumpster fire until the main Christian left, right? And then, nice enough, right? The rest of the other Christians were apologizing and saying, do you know, we used to have good conversations.
Yeah.
But somewhere along the line, we had too many conversations, and they started turning into this us versus them all the time. And so it's always refreshing when somebody can just put that aside and not want to pwn somebody else for the sake of it, and just make their point. I mean, yeah, let me put it that way. I mean, again, when I disagreed with him, and I did so in a fairly forthright manner, I put the caveat in that this is my worldview, and therefore, it's not to be taken as something which is meant for everybody. And he accepted that, no problem, and said, yeah, I disagree, and that's fine. We can get on with it. So that's what impressed me, is that he's prepared to say, I don't know, and let's agree to disagree.
Yeah, finding a Christian that's willing to say, I don't know, over a compartmentalization of God did it, is really genuinely, refreshing to come across.
Yeah, I mean,
I definitely wanted to jump.
a fair number. Holy Speckle, of course, is a great example of a Christian, or not anymore perhaps, but a Christian which has always been very interesting to talk to over the many years.
I definitely wanted to jump in and ask something, but since I'm at work, I was like, every time I got the opportunity to, somebody came in and I'm like, son of a bitch. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like as if they knew that I was in a call wanting to say something, and they're like, "Yep, we're gonna stop by there right now." And I was
I
like,
appreciate you joining from work, man. I know it's impossible. I can only do it in my lunch breaks and stuff like that. So I appreciate you coming in at work and, you know, taking that
"Oh,
chance.
I've got
Some bosses can be dicks.
yeah." Oh no. See, I work alone, and so I have a lot of free time.
Sex
So I'm
worker.
just like,
I understand.
Obviously.
Wes, you have been very quiet, and I'm deliberately going to poke you because the entire idea of tonight, if we can give a bit of context, I know that there was the debate, we had everybody here, and it was very good and stuff, but the idea of the whole thing is Wes is trying to live up to his name. Wes is trying to be a producer and do more live streams and stuff like that there. So, Wes, I'm going to deliberately pick on you so that you are made speak and made talk. We even got you a camera filter so you didn't have to show your face properly, but you're going to have to talk, man. So what did you think of it? Is there anything that you would like to make a point on the debate, the discussion tonight?
Okay, I thought it went pretty well. The debaters could have done a little bit better in different places, but like James could have went a couple different places, I thought, with slavery or homosexuality came out later, that I think you could show there's an immoral God. Just by slavery alone, that'd be the easiest one. And I thought he could have tackled that. But that may not have been the best place to tackle it either. If a Christian is talking coming from their psychological background. So. But anyway, it went really well. I'm glad I picked those two to debate. I thought they're great guys. I really love them both. And James said he hadn't debated before. I've known Greg for a long time. Respect him. So.
Have you any other debates in the works?
Right? Yeah. Actually, James here may be debating James Gadd, father, James Gadd. And then we've got one playing with Randolph Richardson and James again, James Winner, that debate tonight. And that'll be a Christmas special. So, and I've got a few others I'm trying to line up. So.
Oh, that'll be pretty cool.
Probably one a month, maybe two a month.
I'm going to just self-volunteer Simos, and I would say, if you can find someone who's not an asshole, Simos is always a very good interlocutor, makes it entertaining, asks good questions. Motherfucker's been in the scene for nearly a decade. As he pointed out earlier, he's heard all these arguments before. So if you can find someone, or a good topic, I think Simos and Mr. Rogers would have a good conversation if you got the nice topic.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Also, if it's a Christmas special, maybe you can get them to use 3D avatars, and one could be like Frosty the Snowman, and the other guy could be Rudolph or something. That'd be fun.
I've got face rig
on whether Santa exists. That's the debate topic.
Could we have one of them as a baby Jesus, maybe?
Sure, why not?
Let me see if I can do this. Right, this may crash my camera and may kick me, but we shall try. Seeing as you're talking about the baby Jesus, go on ahead.
Oh my gosh!
I wouldn't want to be too disrespectful, but there you go.
So I don't know if anybody caught any of the 10 questions that I posted in private chat. And I wasn't
did,
sure.
Yes.
So did you think any of those maybe are worth?
Yeah, of course. I mean, all of them have a point to them, right? So, but it's just a question. I think a lot of these things come down to following a chain of questions, right? I mean, to me, that's where the interesting part comes. Because you need to follow up with if this then that kind of questions,
right?
And all of them are jumping off points. That's what I was looking at. thinking, oh,
Yeah,
that's a
that-
good jumping off point there. Yeah, maybe we could just, you know, like, I mean, the point he made about being, you know, he believed in sola scriptura, for instance. Well, I think that needs more interrogation if you're going to say some of the things that he said about other people's worldviews. Because if you combine that with presuppositionalism, then I think there is some kind of conflict going on. Of course, Leo's, you know, problem of evil kind of put him in a bind, although, you know, I would say that he didn't really give a
I didn't
decent
present
answer
an
to that.
argument from Abel to him.
Didn't you? What were you? Which one were you doing? I thought you were saying is goodness part of God's nature?
No, I
or
just
is something good
that would be
cousins?
the Euthyphro dilemma.
Sure.
But I asked him what it means to say that God is good, and if I just
Yeah.
may speak on that, because to answer, there's sorry, I got something in my mouth. There's an issue with the answer that he provided, because all he said was essentially that, well, God is good just means that God is always righteous. And then I asked him, okay, so what does it mean to be righteous? What is righteousness? And he just said, well, it's kind of a, you know, it's a subjective concept. Well, hold on here, just give me a second. Just wanted to swallow the piece of food I had in my mouth instead of trying to talk with it in there. Well, if it's the case that what it means to be righteous is going to be subjective, then it just follows that what it means to say that God is righteous is going to be subjective. And if the goodness of God is his righteousness, and his righteousness is ascribed to him subjectively, then goodness is ascribed to God subjectively. And so it just doesn't seem then that he's going to be able to maintain the claim that God can serve as some sort of universalized standard for morality.
I
Yeah.
agree 100%.
I think his answer was, I mean, to me, when he answered, he was sort of saying, well, God's ways are higher than ours. Maybe some kind of analogical argument. Would you say?
I think it was kind of a non-answer. I mean, he seems like a really, really great guy. And he seems fairly intelligent. You know, I think he can reason, but I do think it was kind of a non-answer.
So what I got from that is he's dedicated to the proposition of finding no fault.
Yeah, I just got this idea that we were going to go down the route of we can't know, because any analogy of goodness that we use is not going to be necessarily the same thing or the same way it's viewed from the God perspective.
I just want to say that I'm very upset with Leo because I said hi to him during the debate and he just ignored me. Like I was just
attention.
You were
Usually when I'm listening to debates, I'm like also potentially doing something else, and so I'm not always paying attention to the chat.
Oh no, I know. I just had to fuck with you because I know we've had several conversations, and I'd say that we're on friendly terms. And so I was "Hey, Leo," and then there was something that was said in the debate that you had to quickly type in something, and you just ignored me. So I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna fuck with him when I get the chance."
But just quickly to what you said there, Simus, before I chimed in, is that the problem, or rather the argument for me, but I prefer to call it that because it is an argument. I really, really wanted to see how he would respond to that, but you know, I got to be honest, man. That one's harsh. That I really think that the argument from evil is a harsh one for these classical theists, particularly these Christians, to really contend with. I mean, ask Rebecca. I think James can vouch for me on this one. Probably Simus as well. That Rebecca has said on numerous occasions, for her, that it's a really good argument, and it is something she continues to struggle with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it's certainly, if you're going to, well, anyway, let's not go down that. But yes, I think it's one of the key reasons why Christians lose their faith in later life, because they get to the point where they see so much suffering that they eventually go, oh well, come on now. Surely no more. And obviously normally it becomes very personally close to them, right?
The way that I often tell people to frame the question, rather than saying, is it possible for God to have created a world where there was no evil, just say, just one less rape. You're telling me it couldn't have been the case that we could have gotten what we wanted with just one less rape than what has happened in the world. Just one.
I deliberately
You're telling me
timed that. If
God-
anyone can
you're
look
telling
back,
me
please
God
clip
couldn't
that.
have-
Please
have
clip
just
that.
foregone one of them.
Yeah,
And when you think about it
tend
that
to use
way,
I tend to use murder rather than the other one because I don't like saying the R word. Otherwise, it gets.
well, I
channels
like that
demonetized.
one because
Otherwise, it
evokes
gets channels
resistance.
demonetized.
Well, you see, that's
But
it. I
apart from
I
that-
didn't even set the monetization for this video because I knew, or this stream, because I knew it would be that
It's
way. And
always
if
gonna
anyone
happen.
can look back, please clip that stream where, as Leo said, every last R word. I went like that. That's, you know.
Yeah, I get it.
Right.
Yeah, I
And
mean
I don't-
that's a John Mackey argument. Is that where you read that?
Me?
Leo? Yeah.
No, it's just, I think it's just the way of framing it is instead of,
Okay.
well, could God have created a world where, like, some agent counterfactually could have not, like, stop. Just
Hi,
ask
Johnny.
them. One less, pick some really, really bad thing. The reason I pick rape is because it evokes emotions. Just one less of them. You're telling me there couldn't have been one less.
Yes.
And then that you can start to see the cogs turning in their head.
I like Savage more
Right,
than
they can't-
you, and I ignored her abortion question in the fucking chat earlier, and she's nicer than you. Like, you know, come on, fuck's
Yeah,
sake.
that is John Mackey. I think he calls it the argument of gratuitous suffering, or from gratuitous.
Just gratuitous suffering or gratuitous.
Yeah.
gratuitous
Well,
I
suffering.
can
see,
just take this opportunity to say hello, Richard, peace and respect, and all
Hello,
that. I
Richard.
can't even see if you're
Hello,
there because you're
Richard.
probably.
Hello, Richard.
Are you
Peace and
after
respect,
work?
everyone.
Are you after work and not
You
washed
too.
and looking like a hobo?
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, he really does look like a hobo after work. It's fucking hilarious. Thank you for joining,
So,
Richard.
and Nick, yeah, it's great to see you. Two questions. One, Leo, what is that stuff on where your name would normally be? Like, what does that mean?
That's Einstein's field equations, or that's the I guess you could call it the tensor equation that you can fill in the proper terms for each of the 10 field equations.
And somebody just joined the stream.
Okay.
Yay!
We got
Hello,
Spree.
Bumblebee.
Yeah, well, whenever someone joins the stream when I'm running the hack, the names jump. So now Simos is called Ethan, Wes is Demolished Doctrine, and I'm Einstein's field equation, and nobody else's name.
Now do you know that would be quite an interesting hangout for everybody just to take on the worldview of the person whose names that. gets
Every time
changed.
someone joins, the names jump. Whatever way,
But
yeah,
the discussion
whatever way
has to
they
stay on
update-
the same topic.
Whatever way the fucking update went from StreamYards with the hack I'm
Yeah.
running, every time someone joins, the names move around or they vanish and disappear. It's all random when someone joins.
There you go.
Fun.
Oh, and Sergeant Sam out there. Okay, hello, mate.
Hey, yeah, no, Sergeant Sam, yeah.
If I may make just one final clarifying comment on the argument from evil, and this is just a preference of mine. I choose not to use the word suffering or to sort of propound the argument with respect to the notion of suffering, because I don't think, number one, I don't think it's quite as powerful, and I don't really think that the argument was meant to focus on suffering, because when somebody goes to the gym and works out and they're sore the next day, you could say that there's a sense in which they're enduring physical suffering, but I don't think we're going to say that it's a bad thing, or that it's evil. And so that's why I like to focus on evil, the argument from evil.
See, I don't go to the gym, so for me, that would be
Evil.
that's just pure evilness.
Mhm.
Being sore, be after a gym, yeah, that's evil. That's evil.
I think if you're careful in the definition of the word, it's things. But you're right, Leo. The connotation is much stronger when you use that word. I think, yeah, I agree.
And the funny thing is,
So what?
Cameron
Oh, go ahead, Leo.
Cameron Bertuzzi even kind of indirectly stated we should talk about suffering because it's a more ambiguous term and it can help to potentially obfuscate the discussion. Like that's pretty much what the message he was getting across. Obviously, that's not what he said, but
I mean, the reason I think Mackey uses suffering is because it's a stronger moral standpoint for the atheist.
So,
Using evil
Leo,
is
what would
not
you
very strong for
what would
the
you
atheist.
classify as evil?
oh, what do you mean?
Oh,
Like,
don't
there's
ask,
a lot of
no,
people-
seriously, don't ask that fucking question. I was going to do like a 15, 20 minute warning. Don't ask what the meaning of evil is,
Well, he didn't ask me what the meaning was. He asked me what classifies as. Unless he was trying to ask me what the meaning was.
You know, I wouldn't. You see, the sort of standard that the messenger reveals now set is I can't kick Leo unless someone donates 50 quid in super chats. That was the. Someone did that last time. The messenger reveal sent a $50 super chat so I would kick Leo off the panel. He disagreed with him that much.
Wow.
Just to clarify, no, I was asking what would you constitute as evil, not the definition.
Oh, so like, what do I mean by evil? Yeah, I just think evil is.
Like what would be an evil act?
Evil is just that which all things considered ought not occur.
Okay.
I hate ought. I might kick you for the freeness of it. Like,
Well, but that's, I mean, that's how, you can't have a moral system if it's not. Well, I would say I don't know what it means to have a moral system that's non-normative. I don't.
Yeah, I would
So
agree.
we have to have an ought in order to have a moral system.
Yeah, because moral systems aren't just they're not really like this is the problem with T-jumps. It's just a descript. He's just describing
You were
morality,
arguing with
and
me
it's not.
in that T-jump
It's
debate.
not. It's not. That's not a morality because moral systems are prescriptive. They prescribe behaviors or imperatives or what have you, however you want to construe it. There's going to have to be some sort of oughtness in any moral theory if it's actually going to be a moral theory. At least I would say.
He said it.
So Leo, which it kind of leads me
twice.
to.
No, he said ought twice. That's it. Taking a 30-second break. Taking a 30-second break.
He ought not have done that.
Oh, who said that? I wasn't looking. I was turning the script back.
No, wait, hold on, James. All things considered, ought I have done that?
Touche. Never spar with Leo. Just don't do it.
Richard, I know you didn't see the debate and you have absolutely no points and no idea what we're talking about, but have you anything you'd like to ask anybody or anything you'd like to say? Oh, no, I have questions for you. Make a statement and then I'm going to make a statement. Go.
Okay. In retaining our humanity into heaven and with necessity of comparisons for mankind to value human prosperity, and considering that angels such as Lucifer had fallen, in order that we allow no suffering into our heaven, some small percentage of that heaven, perhaps about 8 billion, needs suffer for the greater good.
Yeah, so that suffering just isn't evil because it contributes to the greater good. It's what ought to occur, all things considered. It's virtue of conducing the greater good.
Yeah, it's the amount. It's gratuitous suffering, of course.
Richard, what I'm arguing doesn't have to do with amounts of evil, but that there's a logical contradiction between mine does not. I am not presenting an evidential. No, it didn't. I can clarify if you'd allow me to clarify what I'm arguing.
Did you say one less?
You haven't stopped.
Do you want me to recapitulate the argument that I'm giving?
No. I don't say whether you said one less or not.
Well, I don't understand what that has to do with anything. You seem to be trying to tell me what my argument is. I do not run an evidential argument from evil.
Leo, the reason that's the problem is because you're not letting him ask a clarifying any sort of a question, because you talk over him. When the man asks a clarifying question, you assume he's making a statement and you retort.
No.
I understand your passion. I really do. I even stepped in to say, can I talk to Richard? You let me say hello to Richard. He made a statement. You went straight back again. But let Simon speak, please. Let him ask a clarifying question.
I was just pointing out that as far as I understood your argument to be, you were arguing because could there not have been one less of something?
Well, that was a question. That wasn't an argument I was giving.
Oh, okay, that wasn't part of the argument. I beg your pardon. Then it wasn't John Mackey's argument. Then.
That has to do with that has to do with ways that I pedagogically frame the argument from evil.
Yeah, I don't know.
With respect to helping Christians understand the argument. I don't run an evidential argument from evil because I think there's a stronger version, the logical argument from evil.
May I have?
And that doesn't deal with amounts of suffering or evil. That just has to do with there being a logical inconsistency in God, the perfect being theism being true, and there being evil in the world.
Can I?
I just answered that.
I think we've all established your point of view. Are you happy with the answer he gave you, Simos?
Yeah, no, he said it wasn't part of his argument, the bit that I was referring to, and that's all I was objecting to.
Perfect. I do want to. It's getting quite late, and well, not that super late. I have other things to be doing. I do want to address, if anyone hasn't seen, and I do not sort of want to promote this. I'm hoping Richard recorded it or is going to upload it to Richard's channel. You going to do that, Richard?
Yes, sir.
Good. So go and watch Richard's channel, subscribe to him. His links are in the previous video that I had. It's Demolished Doctrine. He had a discussion on EA Dawa's fucking channel.
EA Dawa.
That asshole, yeah. And I really feel, Richard,
Justin, you mean?
I don't know if you were watching the live chat, Richard, after you... No, I know you were at the start, but I don't know if you were after you got into the actual thing. And I don't want to say it was your fault directly. I'm blaming Zargos because I understand your point of view and I have 4 years of history. But I felt that when me and you were talking about it beforehand, you described it as doing Universe Sandbox because Zargos understood your point of view and could tweak it so that we could show what is possible with your belief in the solar system and the meteorites.
That is the impression I was under.
That was the... Yes. What I found when actually watching it... Now, I didn't watch the last half hour because I fell asleep. But I watched most of it. And I did take some screenshots of the chat that I would share with you. The audience was bored fucking stupid. Now, I don't say that's your fault. Zargos was very droll in his approach. He was very boring in his... and he got really stuck in this electrical charge thing. You should have just said, if I can critique you, when it comes to a point where you try and justify it and you get to the idea of you basically want to say the aliens made it happen, when you're talking to someone who doesn't understand that point and have the history with you, just fucking say the hand of God and then explain who you think God is. Get their attention and then explain your reasoning. Because when you come at it from a Christian audience, ex-Christian audience, ex-Muslim audience, all thinking what their idea of God is, and you stick on the science and the reason you want it to happen is because of the aliens, you need to make that connection, man, to get their attention, to keep it entertaining. It became very boring and tedious.
Yes, and he repeated himself a lot. Although I respect the man for what he was saying, he said the same things over and over again, trying to make his point to me as if I hadn't caught it.
Yeah.
And I can sympathize with that. But I think Robbie, if you'd heard the conversations that were offline setting this up, I went through all this with him.
I could tell it in your body language because I know you long enough to know this is you saying
frustrated.
Confused, this is you saying you're annoyed, and this is you really pissed off. I can read your body language because I've known you that long, and I'm watching you, and you went through all three of them in the space of about 2 minutes of him saying, I can't show this in Universe Sandbox, and your response was, I said this to you before we set it up. And then you did this whole, I'm going to do every body language to say I'm fucking pissed off.
Yes, I did. I was very frustrated with that.
That was an hour and 10 minutes into the discussion.
Frankly,
you know? That was an...
his pride and his professionalism and his education overtook his better senses and didn't allow him to hear what I actually told him.
I can't say he was professional because he lost connection at least 6 times. He couldn't share a screen. And shout out to
producer Wes.
Shout out to Eway. If you're going to fucking run a YouTube channel, man, get a second screen. The fact that you're sharing your private chat and you're inside of your StreamYards and all, when you're get a fucking second screen. Fucking.
Yeah.
Amateurs.
So that happened. But I'm gonna download the whole talk.
Goddamn rookies, huh?
I'm gonna download that whole talk onto my channel. Since we were the only two talking, I'm sure that's not going to be an issue. It's super boring, so I don't recommend the video.
Hey, I'm gonna download this video, but make sure y'all don't watch it, guys. Because,
I generally, I would say watch the first 40 minutes of it. After about 40, 45 minutes, I think Richard, if you know
It becomes
Richard,
redundant.
no, it's not that it has become redundant. Richard has made his points, and the other guy is stuck in this bubble of an opinion, and putting Richard in this bubble of opinion. I know I'm biased. I know I love the bones of Richard, you know. But I'm gonna straight up say it, Richard. It's your own goddamn fault because you don't explain yourself correctly. You did it on fucking Tuesday. We were talking about you having a direct communication with your alien god, and you called it a revelation. And if you speak to a Christian or someone or Muslim or someone of this background and use the word revelation, they will agree with you that it's a possible thing. But their idea of a revelation is not hearing an alien inside their head.
Yeah, I'm trying to get better at communication. You're right. I'm not very good at it.
Oh, no, you are. Your opening statement went from 20 minutes to 5.
But there is something I think that needs to be acknowledged. I don't know who in here has noticed it, but it's something I've noticed from a large portion of the Muslim apologists here on YouTube. I'm not going to go through the list and name all the names, but some of them are quite respectful, and I don't actually mind dialoguing with them. But the one thing I've noticed about them, and I got to be honest, I mean, obviously I have, but I don't see this nearly as frequently with the Christian apologists as I do the Muslim apologists, where anytime they ask you a question or they lay out something and your answer or your objection or what have you does not, they can't rationalize it in their worldview, there's no progress made in the discussion. And they will do everything they can to try to force your two worldviews to have to mix just to try to carry the discussion forward. And it is maddeningly frustrating. And I know those two words kind of mean the same thing, but that's why I'm using them together. Does anybody else notice that they do this?
I don't know. I just stopped listening whenever you talk, Leo. You talk that much.
I once heard a wise man say that
no,
if
you talked over me. You didn't give him a chance to laugh and catch the joke.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2. So okay. A wise man once said a sign of intelligence is that you can carry on a conversation about a view you don't hold. And I think that's true, but I mean, what are you expecting of these people?
Well, I don't think it's that he's saying that. I don't think he's saying that he couldn't carry on the conversation. It's just that whenever you have someone where it's like, this is my worldview, and they say, well, this is my worldview, and now I'm trying to combine the two in a way that doesn't make sense to you at all. It gets to the point where you're just like, no, that's not how that works, my guy.
There was one question that the guy gets stuck on. There was one thing that Zargos, is that how you pronounce it, or Zagos? Richard? Zagros, right? And he asked a question to Richard after they went through, and they found some sort of a meteorite, and he sort of tried to do it close as he could to Richard. And it came down to the idea, watching the visuals, nothing happened. And he said to Richard that when it becomes something like this, it needs to boil down to charge, about how much charge is required rather than mass. How much charge over force. And he made this massive thing that charge was the main thing. And he went on for a rant for about 5-10 minutes about it. And he said to Richard, how much charge has this meteorite that you're theoretically proposing got? And Richard's answer was exactly the amount that's needed to knock it out of its orbit. Don't know how it happens. And the guy was like, you can't just say that. And it's like, well, what do you expect? Richard's not mathematical. He doesn't know this. He's not into that.
But that's what they do.
That's what
when
Richard
you don't answer,
does, or that's what the other guy does?
No. That's what the other, like the Muslims and all them do. When you answer, and that's what I was kind of saying, Russ summed it up better than I did, is when you say, oh, well, yeah, but this is what my worldview is, and they go, yeah, but that doesn't fit into my worldview, so you need to change it so that it does, so that I can give the response that I want. That's what they do, and you can't move the discussion forward.
I think this guy's actually, he may be a Muslim, but he's in university or some level or whatever, studying for his bachelor's or his PhD in physics. Would I be right in that? I'm just going off Richard.
He's at least agnostic, if not more aggressive.
I did not get that from him at all.
It wasn't a topic of the conversation.
Well,
it may have been his accent, but it may have been his. I may be slightly racist in my background or whatever, but it may be of the words that he used and the fact, you know, I don't think he shouted Allah, but there was a lot of Muslim words, and I don't find someone who's agnostic, even regardless
Arabic.
of where they're from, would use different language. You know,
I'm
it's
afraid
like me
I
being
don't know
an
his
atheist and
family
coming into
upbringing.
a hangout and going shalom.
That's a Islamic thing, right? Because they have to allegedly they all have to learn the Quran in ancient Arabic.
Well, it's
classical
Arabic. Yeah.
Yes, well, this
No,
is my idea.
hang on. Let me finish. It's specifically classical Arabic, and yeah, and so it's considered disrespectful to say the translation without saying the Arabic first, right? So it's a kind of a respect thing they feel for the actual text itself.
So that
I gotta take off.
If I can ask for clarification from Simos, would that happen in their culture, even if you aren't of that faith? Would that be like me saying when someone replies to me about Christmas, you know, Happy Christmas instead of Happy Holidays? It's like me saying Happy Christmas back.
Right, sorry, I missed. Someone had to go, and I was just got sidetracked on that. Sorry, say that again.
Having that, you see, look, whenever they left, I'm now Leo's name, you're now Spartan again, and Wes is now fucking Richard again. There we go, that's that fixed. Oh, we got Bree on screen. I forgot Bree was even backstage.
Fantastic.
Are you saying that the inference that I took from the ideas when he was talking of using Muslim words relative to religion, that it's similar to me saying Happy Christmas to people, even though I would be more off saying Happy Holidays?
No.
It would be more like, say, quoting the Bible in Greek and then giving the English translation.
But the point I'm
so
trying
it
to
only
make,
works when they're quoting the Quran.
I didn't get a feeling that he was agnostic. Are you trying to say to me the fact that he was using these words and I felt that he was actually a Muslim over an agnostic, I would be justified in that because of the understanding?
I couldn't see why an agnostic would want to do the same thing, because it is an Islamic thing to always quote the Quran in the original language. It's said you cannot understand the Quran unless you know it in its original language.
Perfect. Just making
Yes,
sure.
I've had actually a Muslim and sit there and tell me that I could not possibly understand what the Quran is saying if I don't understand the original Arabic. And like he kept driving that home, and I'm like, but the words are the same. Like it's just like an English translation. I mean, yeah, sure, it could be like somewhat mistranslated in certain areas due to language barriers where we may not have there may not be a word that's a direct translation from Arabic to English, but like this is like the closest proximity of it or whatever, but it's still like it's the same words.
Sorry, I was looking at the live chat if anyone else wants to retort.
Yeah, no, I was.
Hi,
was I,
DFM.
actually.
Thanks for coming in. DFM watched most of the debate yesterday, the discussion yesterday, and says Richard gets a badge for his tolerance. And I have no idea who DFM is, but for them to get that and understand, they must know Richard and know the show. Hi, Bree. Hi, Bree Spider.
For general information, I believe Zagros was raised in a community, and his parents were of that faith.
All right.
Well,
Sorry,
the thing
Wes.
is like it's a kind of a cultural thing.
Sorry to interrupt here. Wes, thank you so much. I'm just going to bring attention to MathPig that you've written in the side chat.
Oh, thank you. I gotta go for a bit, so thank you everybody. If I don't return, it was
first
an
thing
awesome
you
debate, and thank you, MathPig, for putting on the debate.
No, not a bother, Wes.
Hi, Wes.
That was hi, Bree.
Bye, Wes.
Thanks, Wes. Good to meet you.
Thank you again, man.
Peace out,
Thank
Wes.
you. We will be rounding up soon anyway. You know, it'll be very, very soon to be rounding up. And you should look at the private chat. And the last thing that Wes typed in the private chat was pull me off with a question mark. I have that threw me completely.
A typical atheist.
Absolutely, completely. But thank you for joining, Brie. Although we are, as I say, we're going to be rounding up very, very soon. But what I want to do is, James, I haven't really spoke to you. I only met you tonight. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for coming to the pigsty. Hope you come back. Saturdays we do open panels. Tuesday I argue with Richard. And have you anything else you would like to give or make a statement on the debate, or James or Craig or anything like that? I know that you were there from the start and you've got questions. So if you'd like to say anything.
Who were you talking to just then, Matt?
James.
James Apperson.
He might not be here. Of course, he's
Good old
been muted
James
a while.
Appleman.
James Apperson.
Oh, well then I'm going to fall by default and land on Ethan. Is Ethan there? Because we're probably not.
Yeah, I am here.
Oh, he is! Ethan, you've been
Yeah, I
very
was
quiet.
just being lazy. Didn't really feel like getting into a debate, so I just didn't say much. But
well,
I don't know.
What do you think?
And I didn't watch the debate either, so I don't know if I have too much to say. But I appreciate everybody here, and yeah, I didn't say too much tonight, but I know we always have good conversations on MathPig channel. So yeah, props to MathPig for having a cool channel.
Aw, you're gonna make me blush. Aw. What was it? You definitely have to check out Spartans. I don't watch much myself because I disagree with everything he says. But Apocalypse here, Apocalypse is it's like a channel collab thing that's now become one. And,
Yeah. I don't post on my Spartan much anymore, but
John, isn't it John?
Yeah.
Yeah, I interviewed John, and I have John on my channel admitting that Christianity is dying out because it doesn't know how to change, and it's all the rest of it. And it's a wonderful watch for 2 hours just to see that 30-second clip of him admitting that Christianity is dying.
John who?
Apocalypse here. Look for my channel, interview with Apocalypse here. His first name's John. Guys. Like MathPig Robbie.
I was just wondering if it was John Buck or not.
No.
Okay.
Apocalypse
Bree.
here.
Because I was going to say, if he's been on MathPig's channel, I want to see that.
You're out of focus, Bree, or else you've got Vaseline on your camera.
I'm out of focus from bumping the table. I'll fix it in a second.
According to Gur, Leo is a plonker, but then Gur's opinion doesn't really count. So
I don't even think Gur knows what a plonker is.
no, he's
Or
just
how to
seen-
use one.
Yeah, he's seen me a couple of times use it, so he thinks he's cool. He's trying to imitate me, you know.
Look, I was going to say that's not exactly American lingo, is it? Now.
No, he's seen me use it because I think the actual bot.
Yeah.
I think
Do you know
it's-
the irony here is Gur's real name is Rodney. That's a British joke for those that are.
Yeah, are you talking only fools and horses?
Oh yeah.
Is it that one? Yeah, there you go. See, the bot. Gur's a plonker, fight me. And then his link. So that's why he's using
Gur is a plonker.
Yeah. And saying that, he's also a winning troll because now the panel is talking about it. So if we will work around the room.
Who are we talking about?
Yeah, that guy. Richard.
Armenia?
Who is that guy? Oh, Richard. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know Richard.
You can't say mother plonker. That just proves you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. You just moved from a plonker to an agent.
with a capital E.
Oh, that's a good one.
Leo, the floor is
Capital
yours. Now, I know you like to take the floor, so don't get too excited, but the floor is yours. You're next in the panel in the way I'm looking at it. So, shill yourself, shill your channel, shill your religion.
Well, the lattermost, I don't have one of those. My channel, I haven't actually been doing all that much, just because I've been doing quite a bit of reading lately and some stuff like that I want to do before I dive into some more videos and stuff, just because I always think it's good to not only just better your understanding of these fields broadly, but to also read up on the things that you're going to be talking about. But I'm hoping to get another apologetics analyzed out. Don't know. I'm torn between two apologists on who I want to respond to. So I got that I had to worry about. But well, I know. I just don't know which one I want to do next. So it's either going to be I got to make sure I don't get his last name and first name mixed up because Braxton Hunter, I believe it is, or inspiring philosophy. It'd be
Don't
responding.
even touch that. Inspiring philosophy is like Richard. He's really nice and there's lots of nice points and all. And then, unlike Richard, he's a dick.
That's I don't really care about that. At least it doesn't really bother me. I'm just gonna respond to his digital physics argument, explain why it's wrong and why it misunderstands basic quantum mechanics and quantum field theory.
Would you be up for a discussion on whether the electric universe theory is a possible idea?
Potentially, yeah. I'd have to read up on it, so I don't really know all that much about it. 'Cause it's not real science.
Ridiculously,
I know. Hold on, Bree. You're next.
I know it says things like, gravity is actually electricity, actually, statically, actually, and like other dumb shit that sounds like it came from a Deepak Chopra book. But
the craters.
Right, hey, just.
Okay, from lightning bolts, yeah.
No,
Everybody,
Leo.
Bree, you haven't heard about the moon lightning?
Leo.
MathPig.
Right, we're gonna move on.
Just to say one thing quickly. Serb tried to troll me with that about 4 years ago.
I tried to make a small joke and I feel like I'm being a dick.
Yeah, of course you did.
There is people that I know that I'm quite close to or are a proponent of that, and I would like to maybe have you on a discussion with them on that.
Sure, I'm okay with that.
Bree, don't fucking talk about the electric universe, but would you like to shill or talk about anything?
I play with spiders. If you want to come watch me play with spiders, I'm here.
I appreciate your follow on Twitter the other.
Yeah.
So yeah, spiders and Bree and ponytails, yeah?
Yeah, stuff like that. I will be doing a special late night cryptic corner with almost a doctor talking about Nazi weapons tomorrow night.
What kind of spider is that?
This is a southern house spider, Hibernalis cuculania, also known as a black hole spider.
Are they the kind of spiders?
Bree.
She's got a whole bunch of her babies over here. She had babies.
Are they the kind of spiders you want in your house?
This is a pest control spider, so yeah, if you got
Bree,
pests in your house.
I have to admit to you that you did see the pictures of the giant massive spider in the studio.
Yeah.
And I showed you a picture of the two massive giant spiders that were in the studio.
Yep.
Yes, well, they may be rare and they may be oversized, but what they decided to do is multiply like motherfuckers, and one was over 3 inches across in the bedroom when my wee girl was going to bed. She got very scared, asked me to check, and I found 5 of them motherfuckers across 3 different rooms. They come out after 12. I went on spider patrol. They're all fucking dead. I'm sorry. I know they're rare. I know they were massive, like giant mother.
Beautiful too. They were.
No,
beautiful.
I took my slipper. I went round the room. I did a mass wipeout. They're all fucking dead. I'm sorry.
Elena could have understood the
No,
spiders.
no,
She could
no.
have explained
Elena
the spiders to
thought
her.
one. Elena thought it was great when she seen the giant one walking up the wall. She was like, "Oh look, there's George." Then she seen another one, and then wouldn't go to bed till I killed them all.
That's so sad.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I made a little
Ethan,
cave
you're
for my
next. We
spider in
lost
my
Leo.
hand, and it'll just hang out in there.
Ethan, shill
What am I
yourself, shill your channel, shill your religion.
Yeah, Apocalypse here. We started a podcast, so we're doing an episode every week. Not a particular day, but we have been putting out one episode a week. So yeah, we just kind of, it's like a chill podcast, but we talk about theology and stuff like that. But we're not apologists by any means or anything like that. Like, I mean, obviously you can see I get along good with MathPig. So yeah, if you're not interested in theology, you probably wouldn't be interested in it, but it's not a super complicated or, boring
It's
theology
like
podcast.
this, but with Jesus, yeah?
Yeah, we're both Christians, but we're both pretty liberal Christians, and yeah, so
Russ,
there's that.
another beautiful pig. You're up next.
Damn dirty liberals.
Yeah, he's at work. Simos, you're up next.
Oh, hello. Okay.
Yeah, you can come to me after Simos.
Oh, he's back.
Thank you. That's cool. What am I doing? Obviously, Monday is the Japanese Grand Prix review with myself, Fabio and Funk. And obviously you find that on my channel, which is just /Simos Funk. And then I was going to say, if you're looking up Electric Universe, look up Electric Ladyland as well.
I can't remember the command for your channel, and I've made apostrophe Simos.
You have.
Yeah.
Girth. Yeah, I know. It pisses me off every time, but it doesn't matter. I'm okay. Yeah, just to say, yeah, just my channel is, of course, just Simos Funk /Simos Funk. That'll do. And we do Formula One mainly, and I do also Hell Let Loose now, as well as Daisy. So that's me, and that's my shilling.
Next up is Jason Apperson, the new guy.
You mean me?
The only other Jason.
The only
Jason,
other Jason.
did you say?
James
Did you say
Apperson.
Jason?
I'm fucking trying to look for the Simos command here at the minute in my bot list. Yes, James Apperson, that guy.
Greg James Appleton. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers Apperson.
Very good.
Dr.
Thank
Applethorpe?
you. Exactly.
Jason Appleman.
Okay, I'm giving up on this fucking command looking. Right, go on ahead.
Johnny Appleseed?
Sure. I'll answer to anything. And my channel is completely informal. Like anybody, the only purpose for my channel right now, as it is just simply as a hub that gives people a chance to stop by, like Cheers Bar. Like if nobody else is streaming that I know of, I'll start a stream so people have a place to jump over and talk about anything they want to. The formal channel yet, so that's. In fact, we do that a lot. We jump to other people's channels. We call it bar hopping.
Mr. James Barrison Appleby, could you type in the live chat so I can give you mod status to share your channel? I would appreciate it. I can't look at the
Awesome.
private
Yep, I
chat
can
at
do
the
that.
minute, but if you talk in the live chat, I'll give you status and you can give it a share. I definitely appreciate your idea. The phrase that I used at the start when I started the channel was the idea of an Irish pub on a Friday night. Come play pool, have a drink, all the rest, disagree with everybody, and if it really gets to the bad point, I'll hit you with my pool cue, but I'll feel bad enough to buy you a pint the next week.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yep, that's all we've got going on over there. So we've got a show coming up in a day or two about consent, which is a pretty complex topic if we really dive into it. So I'm waiting for my co-host to let me know when they're available for that. But it's usually pretty informal.
You've got
I'll go ahead
status
and-
now, man. So post your link in the private or in the live chat. Feel free. Yeah.
Awesome,
Yeah,
thank you for that.
Please do. If I haven't subbed, I will. That's for sure.
Awesome, thanks.
And Wes has come back. Wes, do you want to shill anything before you leave? Before we end it?
Tengang, Skeptic Haven, and of course the debate show we just did.
Oh, I love the name.
I wanted to if I may quickly throw my hat or throw my name in the hat for any debates that Wes wants to host on his channel. I feel he's probably familiar enough to me to know an idea of topics that I would be interested in.
Yeah.
So it just in the instance that you're looking for anybody, you don't be afraid to get a hold of me.
No,
Yeah,
you
I'll be in
know I
touch,
fucking
Leo.
host debates
For sure.
Yes, MathPig, and if you would like to have them, you can do the same thing and let me know.
Felix slapping you off.
It's not like Leo hasn't been around all this time for you to come on and do debates, Robbie.
Oh, right. Don't even
Like,
talk
I've
to
been
me.
here
No,
this
I
whole
love
time,
this, right?
just-
Bree, don't even get me started. Don't even, I'm gonna slag you offline. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna wait and then slag you offline.
Oh,
you
honey,
just,
I've been
you
here
ju-
this whole time
you
too.
just
and
play
no
with your
debates. Where
little
are my
eight-legged
debates,
friend.
Robbie? Where are my debates?
I want to say thank you for everybody coming tonight. If you haven't checked out the debate, I know we're doing the after party now, but if you haven't checked out the debate, do check out the debate. Links in the description. Go there. If the idea and how tonight went and continues to go, I'm hoping to work with producer Wes, maybe steal some people back. And why am I Leo's naming you in, for fuck's sake? Yeah. So definitely do subscribe to Heroic Debates. As I say, links in the description. I want to thank everybody for joining.
What about Russ?
Yeah, what about Russ?
Oh, fuck me.
I didn't get to do anything. I didn't get to say shit. He said, fuck, Russ.
I offered you the floor. You missed your go, but I'll go on.
Well, give me 1 second, okay? I've got Just
You
unless
make
you
us
do,
fucking.
and then I'll say it.
While
That's
we're waiting for that,
Anyways.
I would gladly accept Leo as an interlocutor for the debate on electric universe theory.
I totally wasn't talking
Because
about
electric universe theory is awesome. It
Okay.
is absolutely amazing.
I deliberately didn't say that it was Richard, but Richard's
Yeah,
happy.
lightning bolts coming out my ass and shit. Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
Richard got lightning bolts coming out his ass and shit.
Nice.
Everything about electric universe theory is completely provable.
Do you know, if you look back in the live chat from EA to Wawa's chat last night, I called you saying the electric universe about 25 minutes before everyone on the audience caught on. It is like, he waffled on and just didn't get you at all.
Every time you do that, MathPig, I think of the one Rihanna song, but with wah instead of what is it? Whatever it is. She said you go EA da wah wah wah, and I think EA da wah 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 wah.
EA da wah wah.
Every time.
All right, now I'm ready.
Oh, thank fuck for that, because go on ahead, Russ.
All right, so name's Russ, short for Frustrated Atheist, which obviously means that I'm a Southern Fundamental Baptist. So I have a channel that you can go check out if you like. Right now, I haven't done anything with it in about like a couple of years.
His
But
intro, the intro.
once I get,
Your intro.
Yes. My intro was actually made by Peter. Gonna go for it. Anyways, so pretty soon, huh?
It's me taking it back.
Oh, okay. But so, pretty soon here, once I get internet set up at the house again, I'm gonna start making content again, but I'm gonna revamp my channel, which means that I might actually change the name as well to be more, because right now it's just being Frustrated Atheist. It seems like I'd only be doing like atheistic content type of stuff, but no, I plan on covering a bunch of different topics, including educating people on certain things like parasocial relationships, since there's fucking everybody who apparently doesn't know what the hell that is. So I'm gonna educate people on these things, and so I'm just so I'm gonna revamp and change my name on the YouTubes and all that good stuff, and that'll happen soon-ish. I can't give any kind of time frames because where I live at, it's very hard to get internet because it's kind of countrified, and so you can only go with certain people and certain providers and whatnot. Yeah, so I've got to sit there and go through my options about that.
Awesome.
Right. Well, on that, seeing as this motherfucker was the last one, definitely go do, because Russ, Frustrated Atheist, like Simos, has been in the community for an awful long time, has been around and stuff.
I've been around.
No. Just to clarify, you're not as cool as Simos. I'm just saying you've been around for a while.
Oh no! My content is shit. I will gladly admit that. I'm just saying I've been around since the Google Hangout days.
Yeah.
Clearly, you haven't seen my content, Russ. Then.
No. What we will do is we will end on Russ's trailer, because I love Russ's trailer for his channel. It's like, how old is this now? It is 2018 from this trailer. I really do like your trailer, man, because it's the audio, it's the music. You slammed the music. You got the music just perfect. You did.
Oh, I love that. I love that score in general. That's just it's an amazing score.
So I will be unable to mute everyone, so that isn't a fucking excuse for you to shout, "Are we ended yet?" or "Are we live yet?" I'll be playing the music, but yeah, for the audience, this is Russ's outro, intro, whatever you want to call it. Thanks everybody for coming. Thanks all the audience, and at the end of the day, people, remember, think for yourself.
If these people really don't like it, They don't have to live here.
Oh, whenever you said my intro movie, I thought you were talking about like for all my videos. I didn't realize you were talking about my little channel trailer. That I made myself.
They do.
Or better yet, would the attorney choose not to take U.S. currency, which would be all right with me too.
Plus, if you don't believe, then why do you care?
Yeah.
It's just like some guy's name.
But you know, the thing is, though, you have to understand, atheism is not an extreme idea. It's called faith, religious faith, for a reason, because you have faith. The only way you can have faith is if there is no faith to compare it to. So. I understand that they are the minority here and they have to deal
But why
with
should
these
they be
issues.
catered to?
We're not
Why are
saying-
they so special?
What about that?
I'm telling you that I find it offensive that a few people, and these children are pawns from their parents' political statements and beliefs to try and enforce it on everybody else and inflict their belief system. It's incredibly selfish, it's small-minded, and I don't think the court should cater to them. There is no good reason to do so.
You also believe that there's a higher life and a higher being that's going to be there when you pass.
Right, usually intelligent people normally do. You have to understand tolerance, sir. I know it doesn't come naturally to atheists. If you want to say you believe in nothing, I say you could.
David
I know you
Silverman
stand
is
for
such a
nothing. I know you're
slimy
good for
piece of
nothing,
shit.
so we agree.
Yeah, this was before I realized how much of a slimy piece of shit he is.
And people everywhere need to live for today because there is no afterlife. Take care of your fellow man because, of course, God is not going to do it.
She's not a Christian!
Oh, that woman was...
Kids don't go to church or believe in God! Gargoyles, psychics, everything's ungodly!
I think I showed very clearly from dozens of textbooks. You tell me.
You didn't answer the question at all. You showed not one textbook that supports that argument ever in your life. Not just tonight, never.
Oh, fight on Christianity type of thing. You're just being a dumbass.
You're to pray about that. You're to seek what's best for your family.
Since when did providing a better life for your family become evil? What about that can't you understand?
Yeah, I guess you didn't have anything. We're just all about what we believe and how we feel. Seems about right.